Amateur Radio News and Notes for Friday, April 18th, 2025. I'm Ed Koenig, November 2, Echo Charlie. In the log this week, we'll have a DXpedition spotlight talking about the ZS-8W Prince Edward and Marion Island DXpedition. See how the ARRL and over 200 members filed comments to the FCC regarding their in-ray delete memo. Talk about MVARC Nets on the air. See what's happening with DX. Have a solar activity update. Talk about upcoming contests. And talk about interesting online radio content. Veteran DXpeditioner Yuris YL2GM is en route to Marion Island in the Prince Edward Islands near Antarctica. On his website, he reported Wednesday that he was on board the MV S.A. Agulhas II, departing from Cape Town, South Africa. He'll be operating April 21st through May 16th, 2025, as he works as a radio engineer for the South African National Antarctic Program, or the SANAP, as they prepare for their winter season. Yuris plans to operate 160 to 6 meters, working split up 1 for CW, up 5 for SSB. And also for FT8, he indicates that once you receive a Roger 73, you're in the log, so there's no need to continue transmitting a 73. The Prince Edward Islands, of which Marion Island is a part, are uninhabited sub-Antarctic volcanic islands in the southern Indian Ocean. The SANAP researchers are the only people on Marion Island where they have a meteorological and biological research station. The Prince Edward Islands are currently listed as numbered 11 in Club's Log's DXCC Most Wanted list, so this promises to be a great chance to get a rare one in your log. More information can be found in the show notes. Good luck. The ARRL announced on April 14, 2025, that they had filed comments in response to the in-ray delete memo from the FCC, seeking comment on ways to reduce regulatory burden along with over 200 members. Their suggestions for eliminating or modifying regulations included deleting symbol or baud rate and bandwidth limits on LF and VHF and UHF, giving technicians additional license privileges on HF, updating the 80 and 75 meter band subdivisions, deleting limitations on digital codes used over the air as long as they are publicly decodable, allowing third-party messages to be passed consistent with rules adopted at WRC 03, removing amplifier drive limitations that disallow use of more efficient amplifier technology, allowing the removal of previous addresses from the ULS to allow for greater privacy for amateurs, changing how special call signs are used with respect to responsible call, and finally, to delete the rule providing for paper license replacements, since those are no longer offered. The full press release from the ARRL can be found in the show notes, and the public comment period continues until the 28th, and the text of the memorandum can be found at a link in the show notes. And a reminder about some MVARC Nets on the air. Of course, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on the repeater, we have our 2-meter FM net. That is immediately followed by our digital net in Yaesu's System Fusion C4 FM. On Saturdays and Sundays, we have the MVARC Slow Speed CW Roundtable at 7:30 a.m. on 3.565 megahertz CW, where we go about 12 to 15 words a minute on CW, and of course we'll slow down to whatever you're comfortable with. And following that, at 8:30 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday at 3.920 megahertz lower sideband is the Cherry Tree Net, and of course, we always are excited to have you join us. And now let's take a look at what's going to be happening with DX. There will be a lot of DX on the air in the next week. Stations on the air will include Kiritimati Island, St. Kitts Island, Koror Island and Palau, Galapagos Islands, Cambodia, Marion Island, Gambia, Marcus Island and Minamatory Shima Islands, Bermuda, British Virgin Islands, Majuro Atoll and the Marshall Islands, Solomon Islands, and Antarctica. A calendar of DXpeditions can be found at dxnews.com/calendar. And now let's take a look at the solar report. As we go to press, the solar flux index was 151 and the estimated sunspot number was 70. Over the last week, the SFI has decreased. The last week brought elevated geomagnetic K index values with a G4 level storms, and this caused widespread issues throughout the bands this week. In the near term, it looks like the K-index values will be calming down, with values dropping to 3 today and to the mid-2s tomorrow. The chance of solar radiation storms at the S1 or greater level is low at 1%. R1 to R2 radio blackouts are likely with predicted probability of 60%. R3 or greater blackouts are unlikely with a 10% chance predicted. There's a reasonable chance of 6-meter propagation, so keep an eye on the band and scouting clusters to be ready for openings. HF conditions have been favorable overall despite the storms, and it remains a fantastic time for amateurs of all license classes to get on the air and work the world. Good sources of real-time solar information include spaceweatherlive.com and solarham.com. A good overview of conditions can be found at dx.qsl.net/propagation. To see D-layer absorption data and associated radio blackouts, visit the NOAA's D-region absorption predictions page. And to see real-time maximum usable frequency, or MUF, and critical frequency, or FOF2 information from Radioson data, visit prop.kc2g.com. And now for a look at some upcoming contests. On the contest calendar this week, we can look forward to the Worldwide Holy Land Contest, the ES Open HF Championship, the Work All Provinces of China DX Contest, the Dutch PACC Digi Contest, the QRP to the Field event, the CQMM DX Contest, the Nebraska QSO Party, the Michigan QSO Party, the Ontario QSO Party, the Quebec QSO Party, the EAQRP CW Contest, the Feldhell Sprint, and the Run for the Bacon Contest. As always, the K1USN SSTs, MSTs, and CWTs will also be on the air. The full contest calendar with events and exchanges can be found at contestcalendar.com. And now let's take a look at some interesting online radio content. Chuck KK6USY shows an antenna failure due to pushing more than rated power. Tim G5TM is skeptical about the POTA Performer antenna. Michael KB9VBR takes a look at the Red Scout antenna system. Josh KI6NAZ goes over the best VHF and UHF antennas he has tested. Mike K8MRD shows off the newly released POTA 33H mast from Gigaparts. Dr. Tamitha Scove, WX6SWW, goes over solar conditions. Ralph of Electronics for the Inquisitive Experimenter goes over complex conjugates and Smith charts for impedance matching. Sean W9FFF and Carlos K9OL talk about L-Ring. Matt M0DQW looks at the new HackRF H4M module development kit. Kevin KB9RLW takes a look at the Tram 1411 discone antenna. Kevin W1DED talks to the contest crew about the multi-Titan stations of ND7K and K3LR for CQ WPX SSB. Hayden VK7HH shows an inexpensive battery testing load. Mike K8MRD vlogs a hike in the woods to do a POTA activation. Kevin 2E0 Whiskey Mike Golf tests a no-name AliExpress antenna in a salt marsh. Sean W9FFF and Bruce K9WBT take a look at the CTR2 dial for flex radios. Evan K2EJT talks speed and Farnsworth with CW. Morton LB0 Fox India uses a Delta loop for POTA, and Matt M0DQW does part 2 of his build for a VHF to microwave SDR transceiver. Mike M0MSN uses a QRM nulling device to help deal with local noise. Callum M0MCX tries to salvage some old coax with water ingress. Vince VE6LK has his first CW QSO on the Z-Bit-X. Mike K8MRD takes a look at a power station. Kurt ON7OFF takes a look at the new Micro PA 150 amplifier. MSci Guy takes a look at the DSO TC4 component tester and oscilloscope from Finersi. Matt M0DQW takes a look at a vintage Yaesu FT225RD. Mike K8MRD takes a look at the REZ Scout as a quarter-wave vertical antenna. Chuck KK7USY tries out a cheap QRP Z-Match antenna tuner. And Steve KM9G takes a look at an updated ATU100 ATU. And that's it for this week. I'm Ed Koenig, November 2 Echo Charlie. Thanks as always for joining us. Hope you have a great week ahead. Best 73. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.